Right now on Morning News Now, deadly attack. 3 U.S. troops were killed, more than 30 hurt in a drone attack on a base in Jordan. The assault marks the first time U.S. troops have been killed since the war in Gaza began. What we know about the attack, the base, and the reaction from the White House. Also this morning, the crisis at the border takes center stage in Washington. House Republicans unveiling 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. This as progress is being made in an immigration deal in the Senate. What we know about a proposed bipartisan bill, the big promise from President Biden on border crossings. Plus, GOP presidential hopeful Nikki Haley opens up why she says her home state of South Carolina could be key to the White House for her, and why she says it's clear the Republican National Committee is not playing fair in her race against former President Donald Trump. And Super Bowl showdown, the big game now set as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs look to defend their title, taking on Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers in the biggest game of the year. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off. We begin our show with a dangerous new escalation of violence in the Middle East, where the first casualties of U.S. forces have been reported since the Israel-Hamas war began. On Sunday, 3 U.S. service members were killed. At least 34 more were injured in a drone attack. Central Command says the attack happened on a base in northeastern Jordan. It's a logistics base called Tower 22 that's involved in the fight against ISIS. Now, this satellite image provided by Planet Labs PBC shows the base before it was hit. President Biden says the attack was carried out by Iran-backed militias and vowed to respond. Iran has denied involvement. Since the war in Gaza started, U.S. troops have been under attack across the Middle East by various Iran-backed groups who say they're targeting the U.S. for its support of Israel. This violence comes as the UN urges the U.S. and several other countries to reverse their suspension of funds to the UN's Agency for Palestinian Refugees amid warnings of an imminent famine in Gaza. The countries withdrew funding following allegations by Israel that some of the agency's employees were involved in the Hamas attacks on October 7th. The Palestinian Prime Minister has urged the countries to reconsider.
We were extremely shocked that certain number of countries have decided to suspend its aid or their aid for the UNRWA. The countries that have announced this suspension, their aid amounts to 70% of the annual budget of the United Nations Relief and Work Agency. This measure is extremely dangerous, and it is our hope that it will be reversed.
A lot to cover this morning. In a few moments, we'll hear from the host of Oh My World, Hagar Shamali. But first, let's get to NBC foreign correspondent Matt Bradley and our White House correspondent Monica Alba. Good morning to both of you. Matt, let's start with you. Walk us through what we know about the drone attack right now, where it happened, and how it unfolded.
Yeah, Joe, so what we're talking about, according to the U.S. government, is that this was a one-way drone that struck this facility, as you're describing, not really a base, more like kind of a logistics tower, kind of sitting in the middle of the desert. Wasn't one of the main installations, but it was certainly exposed and kind of a sitting duck, it looks like. Now, we heard from the Jordanian government, and we heard from the U.S. saying that this was in Jordan. The Jordanian government said this was actually over the border in Syria. Now, it sounds as though that's not really the case, because what we got from the U.S. is that it is in Jordan. In any case, this was a major escalation, and one that Iran has basically denied. Now, Iran went so far as to call it a conspiracy to pin attacks like this one on Iran themselves. Now, Joe, do we believe Iran? Hard to know. You know, when we talk about these Iranian groups, Iranian-backed groups, there's a lot of speculation and discussion about the degree to which they are controlled by Iran. Certainly, a lot of them get varying degrees of largesse from Iran. Whether or not Tehran is pulling the strings, that's unclear. And obviously, there's different degrees depending on the group. My understanding from speaking with a lot of Middle East analysts, who, again, don't really know because this is all so opaque, is that these groups are proxies but not puppets. So it's possible that they really are taking decisions on their own, even if they are getting financing, training, weapons and materiel from Iran. They may be making independent decisions, and that may be what happened here. Joe?
So, Monica, we know the president was at a campaign event in South Carolina yesterday when we learned about this. What's been his reaction to this attack? Do we know what kind of response we could see? We know there are some Republicans calling for a very strong response.
Exactly, Joe. And remember, this had sort of been the bar or the marker for a larger response. We know that there have been these many attacks, about 150 or so times, where U.S. personnel or bases or anything related to that were targeted or attacked since the war started on October 7th. But the moment that U.S. troops would be killed in an attack like this, that's something really where it shifts it into a different dimension for the Biden administration and for the president, who did vow yesterday while he was in South Carolina to respond. He didn't want to say in any kind of detail what that may look like. And he was very clear to say in his statement responding to all of this that the U.S. is still really trying to assess all of the key facts here. They know it was carried out by these radical Iran-backed militant groups, the U.S. said, operating in Syria and Iraq. And he promised to hold them all responsible to account at a time and in a manner of our choosing, he said in that statement. So what that signals is that they still need to figure out a little bit more about then where they would potentially want to target some of these strikes. We know in the past when the U.S. has carried out some of these retaliatory strikes, they have been in places to try to really degrade the weapons capability, for instance, of the Houthis, which we saw in the last couple of weeks or so. But they need to really determine the scope of who was responsible here, where they are keeping their assets, and how to carry that out in a manner that, of course, then is still safe for U.S. troops who are in the area, because that's a potential risk here as well for some kind of widening of this, Joe.
So meanwhile, Matt, you are in Israel. Let's talk about what's happening with the Israel-Hamas war. We know there were more ceasefire and hostage talks over the weekend involving the likes of Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. Any progress been made?
Yeah, really high-level talks. And, you know, Joe, I can't tell you the progress has really been made. And, in fact, we heard from the White House ahead of time that there wasn't an imminent deal. We just heard from the Israelis that this was constructive, but that nothing has really come out of this, and they're not expecting any decision necessarily anytime soon. But, look, Joe, this meeting happened. It completed. And that alone is a sign of progress, because the hopes around freeing the remaining hostages have been so low that the fact that there is this political weight from the international community, from, as you mentioned, the U.S., Egypt, Qatar, and Israel, all of them huddling, trying to bring the parties together to meet in the middle and get these more than 100 hostages free, including 6 Americans. That is progress in itself. And we probably won't know more about this deal until there is a deal. Joe?
Monica, you know, Matt talks about political weight. So, Monica, what can you tell us about this NBC News reporting that the Biden administration is considering using weapons deliveries as leverage over the Israeli government? What are we learning there?
So we know that since the war started, the U.S. has continued to supply weaponry to Israel, to pledge to really help Israel defend itself. That's something the president has said repeatedly. But now we know there are these conversations about using all of that support as leverage and trying to perhaps slow it down or make it clear to the Israeli government that that will slow down if they don't shift themselves into this lower intensity phase of fighting in Gaza and really take into account what has happened so far with the staggering civilian death toll and take more care in trying to avoid that and those kinds of casualties in the future. Now, we know that this is a message that's been delivered behind the scenes from the president and his top advisors to their counterparts to really try to take that message and heed those warnings. But so far, clearly, that hasn't worked. So there's a question now of what else potentially could be used here to see any kind of change in that dynamic, Joe.
All right. Monica and Matt, thank you both for kicking us off this hour. We appreciate it. Let's bring in Hagar Shamali, host of Oh My World on YouTube, also former spokesperson for the U.S. mission to the UN, and former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon, joining us now for more analysis. Good to have you with us. So we know a little background here. In recent months, the U.S. has struck targets in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, responding to attacks on American forces to try and deter Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. But now we have yesterday's deadly drone attack in Jordan. So is the U.S. strategy for dealing with this working, or is this going to force the Biden administration to try and find a new approach? And if so, what could that be?
Right. Well, so the U.S. since after October 7th, the number one priority has been to prevent a war from escalating to something that was full scale, region wide. And they pursued this method of responding to attacks from these Iran-backed militant groups with limited strikes, with things that were controlled in controlled measures, things of that kind to avoid escalation. But clearly that policy has not worked. It has failed at deterring these Iran-backed militant groups from pursuing this. What those groups are trying to do, by the way, they are not trying to defend the Palestinians or even protest against what Israel is doing. They are trying to take advantage of an unstable situation and pursue more troublemaking, pursue more instability, and also they are trying to make a name for themselves. They have no purpose if it's not to fight. And so by goading the United States, by trying to provoke the United States into a war, they're trying to reel this big fish in that gives them this notoriety, something that they can use to recruit further, to get more financing, and so on. And so that's what they're trying to do. But unfortunately, yes, when you have a situation like that, it's very dangerous, precarious. And the thing that we kept saying was, if U.S. soldiers are killed, and that is what unfortunately has happened, it escalates this to another level, and the U.S. will have to respond in an extremely tough way, and I expect them to do so this week.
All right, we'll see what happens there. I do want to talk to you about the negotiations between Israel and Hamas over the weekend. Israel said significant gaps remain in those ceasefire negotiations, which would result in the swap of remaining hostages for a 2-month pause in fighting, but also said the talks were constructive. Do you see any reason for optimism here?
I do see reason for optimism. The reason is because the Israelis and Hamas have already agreed in principle on the ability to exchange hostages for Palestinian prisoners. They had a truce only a couple months ago. So that is something that is achievable. You also have pressure building on both sides, pressure from the hostages, the families of Israeli hostages inside Israel, pressuring the government to prioritize this. And you had a protest last week inside Gaza asking Hamas to release the captives because people there are sick of the fighting. And so given that pressure, I do expect something to come of this, but I do not expect a permanent ceasefire to be part of that deal.
Real quickly, let's talk about that NBC News reporting about the Biden administration discussing slowing down weaponry deliveries to Israel. Could that work?
Well, a little bit. I think polls have shown across Israel that, unfortunately, that a desire for a two-state solution and a desire for a two-state solution is low, even if U.S. aid were to stop. Now, U.S. aid is considerable. We provide $3.8 billion a year to Israel. That's 16% of Israel's defense budget. It is a large chunk, but it is not the only chunk. That said, we are the main funders of the Iron Dome, and so I do think we have the ability to twist their arm a little bit in this.
All right, Hagar Shamali, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We always appreciate your perspective on big stories like this. Now to another big story, the latest on the ongoing crisis at the southern border and an issue that's really intensifying on Capitol Hill. That's because on Sunday, House Republicans unveiled 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They allege he's failed to uphold the law and has breached the public trust. GOP lawmakers are arguing the impeachment push is justified because of the record high number of border crossings. This comes after President Biden announced on Friday he will vow to halt crossings at the border when it's overwhelmed if Congress passes a bipartisan immigration deal, giving him that authority. For the latest on all this, let's bring in NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin and NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley. Good morning to both of you. Julie, let's begin with you. So explain to us that the allegations House Republicans are using against Secretary Mayorkas ahead of this committee vote. What should we know about this?
Yeah, Joe, it's good to be with you. Let's take a step back real quick, because this is something that Republicans in the House, some at least, have tried to pursue for months and months and months, ever since they got the majority back in January. And it is a very slim majority that has only gotten more fragile as the months have gone on. But the reason this measure is before the House Homeland Security Committee, in part, is because when Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, tried to force a vote at the end of last year, Republicans actually demanded 8 of them that this matter be instead referred to the committee, which can then investigate this. It has jurisdiction over the border, over immigration, and certainly oversight over Mayorkas as well. So now we are at the point where the chairman of that committee, Mark Green, has sponsored these articles of impeachment. You talked about them at that top. They accuse Mayorkas of willfully failing to comply with the law that he is set to oversee at the border. The second one is breaching public trust by doing so. This is something that Republicans have a very fragile majority on, but something that they're going to pursue in a committee committee vote tomorrow at 10 a.m. If those articles are then processed by the committee, which there's a good chance they will be, with Republicans having majority, they will then head to the full House for a vote where there is an even slimmer margin for Speaker Johnson to work with. But certainly this is something Republicans are pursuing, especially in an election year, and certainly immigration has been a talking point across the Hill.
So, Julie, we got to learn a lot about the impeachment process during the Trump administration. Explain to us, though, how it works here and in a divided Congress. How does an impeachment attempt even get off the ground?
Well, it's a really good question because you have Democrats who are pushing back against this effort. Of course, there's also a separate impeachment effort of President Biden. So House Republicans have been busy in doing these impeachments, but they do have a very fragile majority. I mentioned some of those Republicans at the end of the year that wanted this matter referred to the Homeland Security Committee. Those are going to be the ones to pay attention to. And some of them have even said that no matter what happens, they're not going to vote to impeach Mayorkas. They think what he's done in terms of policy disagreements doesn't warrant those misdemeanors and high crimes that are required for impeachment. So they're going to be a group to watch on the floor. But certainly you also have Democrats who don't want this to happen. You have the Democratic-controlled Senate. So this impeachment inquiry is going to be dead on arrival in that chamber. I want to read you a little part of what Benny Thompson, who's the ranking member on the Homeland Security Committee, had to say. He called this a sham impeachment. He said it was a political stunt and it was an effort by Republicans to score political points in an election year. And this is all happening, by the way, while Senate negotiators are working with Mayorkas to try and hammer out those finer sticking points in a deal we potentially expect to see text of in the coming days.
Julia, I want to bring you into the conversation. As we mentioned, a pretty notable announcement from President Biden late last week, vowing to halt border crossings if Congress passes legislation giving him the power to do so. The president supports this deal making its way through the Senate. What do we know about what's in the proposed deal, and what prompted the president to come out and make this vow?
Well, yeah, what's in the proposed deal would definitely increase the bar for asylum, making it harder for people to cross. And what they would hope is that they could turn more people back into Mexico before they even come into the United States. And what some of the Republicans are hoping is to try to deny the right to parole, whether that's people applying from their home country to come to the United States or people released in the United States as they await their court hearings. All of that's being discussed. We know the White House has moved really further to the right on this issue, especially since the president first came into office, even during these negotiations. And in part is because from what I'm hearing from people at DHS is they do want tougher border restrictions. They see this as an issue. You have record high border numbers in the month of December. We just got those. We know it decreased in January, but they're worried about them going up as they typically do each spring. And if they have record high border numbers going into the election, that could really be damaging for Biden. And so now we're seeing this incredibly strong statement. In fact, it echoes something Trump used to say. He was just going to shut down the border, not allow anyone else to cross. And of course, you're going to run into all kinds of issues that Trump did with that. He wasn't able to do that because you also have the international right to claim asylum. You have hundreds and thousands of people coming up and presenting themselves to Border Patrol. What do you do with those people if Mexico won't take them back? They're not from Mexico. Is that then Mexico's responsibility? But I think it's the idea of the statement and the sentiment behind it to show that he's really serious about this issue and to try to signal to Democrats on the Hill that he's ready to go as far as he can on this issue.
Because this is going to be such a huge issue in this election year. Julia, real quickly while we have you, President Biden's top migration advisor in the National Security Council is set to depart the White House this upcoming week. What should we know about this move?
Yeah, that's Katie Tobin. She's really been a behind-the-scenes person doing a lot of these policies. There was actually just a Washington Post headline that said, Biden's done more on immigration than Trump, it just hasn't worked. But a lot of those policies, she has been behind. She's led a delegation where they came up with this new framework with agreements with Mexico and Los Angeles. She was able to be part of the transition away from Title 42, those COVID-19 era restrictions, into this new era of asylum restrictions that obviously haven't kept the numbers down at the border, but was a framework for what the Biden administration wanted to do to open up more legal pathways for people to apply from their home countries and not be able to apply for asylum as easily when they cross the southern border illegally. She's done a lot. She's been there for 3 years. I don't have any information that her departure is a sign that things aren't working or that she's frustrated. 3 years is actually a pretty typical time for someone to be in a job like that. But yeah, I think that this just leaves the White House in an even more vulnerable position as they try to get something done on this issue.
All right, Julie and Julia, the name of a great movie and also a great team joining us this morning. Thanks both for joining us. Appreciate it. Convicted killer Alec Murdaugh will soon find out if he'll be granted a new murder trial for the shooting deaths of his wife Maggie and his youngest son Paul. The disgraced attorney currently serving 2 life sentences for the murders. Now, months after his conviction, the defense alleges that the clerk of court, Becky Hill, tampered with that South Carolina jury. They allege Hill asked jurors not to believe Murdaugh's testimony or any evidence presented by his defense. Hill denies those allegations. Murdaugh's appeal of his murder conviction has been suspended pending the outcome of his request for a new trial. Time now for your morning news now weather forecast. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now with what to expect this week. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Great to see you. And we are looking at a really quiet week, especially today. We're starting out quiet. We haven't been able to say that for quite some time. So we're looking at sunny and dry weather in a lot of the country, at least in the portions of the Gulf Coast states into the South Central states. The biggest weather story will be record highs throughout the middle of the country into the west. We're looking at temperatures anywhere from 10, even 30 degrees above normal. We do have some snow showers, lingering snow showers in portions of the interior parts of the Northeast. That should be moving out, but we will be seeing snow showers with a quick moving clipper system throughout the Great Lakes, also the Appalachians, although it's not going to melt much. We're going to see at most an inch in some spots, a few showers in portions of the Pacific Northwest, but really tomorrow the west becomes wet once again. So as we go throughout Wednesday, we're looking at that clipper system moving off to portions of the mid-Atlantic, the Carolinas, and we'll see rain there. It's going to be light rain, a few record highs in the Midwest, also the Northern Plains and 2 portions of the Central Plains. We could break a couple records today, too, even 24 records with daytime highs. And there's that western storm. We're looking at some heavy rain along the coast. We do have some flooding concerns on Wednesday and even some mountain snow. But look at the rest of the country. We are quiet Wednesday, still sunshine throughout the New England, Mid-Atlantic, South Central states, also portions of the Intermountain West. That changes Friday in the Intermountain West because we're going to see showers and storms kind of overtaking the Intermountain West, the Southwest. Also, the coast still remaining wet with that coastal rain, mountain snow. And we're looking at some showers in portions of the South Central states. February warmth continues in parts of the Midwest into the Great Lakes. We're looking at temperatures above normal still. And then snow showers into New England and the interior parts of the Northeast. So let's talk about that spring preview because we are looking at temperatures into the mid-70s in Los Angeles today. 8 degrees above normal, near 80 in Phoenix. That's almost 10 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. 70s in Dallas, too, 60s in Wichita, and we're looking at 41 degrees in Chicago. That's 10 degrees above average. That January warmth stays in place tomorrow. We're going to see it moving a little to the east as well. Little Rock in the 60s, Wichita, too, in the 60s, and we'll be right around 60 degrees in Huntsville. So those well above average temperatures, Joe, continue late week, too. We're looking at temperatures still in the 60s in Wichita by Thursday. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you. Too early to ask you about the Super Bowl forecast. We'll get to that sometime next week. All right, thank you. So the Super Bowl matchup is now set after 2 thrilling conference championship games yesterday. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're heading to their 4th Super Bowl in the last 5 seasons after beating the Baltimore Ravens 17-10 in the AFC Championship. The superstar duo of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce gave the Chiefs just enough offense to pull off the win in front of a very loud Baltimore crowd. Kansas City looking to become the first team to repeat as champs since the New England Patriots did it nearly 20 years ago. They will take on the San Francisco 49ers, who came back from a 17-point halftime deficit, defeating the underdog Detroit Lions 34-31. The Super Bowl matchup, by the way, between San Francisco and Kansas City, it's a rematch of the big game in 2020, which was won by the Chiefs. Super Bowl 58 will take place on February 11th in Las Vegas. Coming up, changing channels from the NFL to WWE. There is a revolution going on in how we watch and now pay for major sporting events. We're going to dig into the shift to streaming. But first, with the road to the White House running through South Carolina, former Governor Nikki Haley is opening up about her push to try and upset frontrunner Donald Trump in her home state. That's next. Welcome back. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is focusing her campaign on next month's South Carolina Republican primary. Haley lost the first 2 contests to the frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. She was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker and had this exchange about the importance of coming out on top in her home state, where she trails in the polls.
This week on Meet the Press, I spoke with Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley. Here's what she had to say about the importance of winning the upcoming primary in her home state of South Carolina. Let me just make sure we get an answer, though, Ambassador Haley, because this is your home state. You were governor in the state of South Carolina. Do you need to win your home state in order to stay in this race? Is it do or die?
I think I need to do better than I did in New Hampshire. So this is a building situation.
But
it's not about which state you get and which state you don't.
Do you need to actually?
I hear you
saying you need to do better, but don't you need to win your home state to show that you can win a state, win your home state, and really put some delegates on the map for yourself?
Well, we've got 17 delegates. He's got 32. I'd say that's pretty good to start. What I do think I need to do is I need to show that I'm building momentum. I need to show that I'm stronger in South Carolina than New Hampshire. Does that have to be a win? I don't think that necessarily has to be a win, but it certainly has to be better than what I did in New Hampshire, and it certainly has to be close. And so that's what we're focusing on. If we win, great. If not, we've got to show that we're continuing to narrow that margin along the way, to give people in Super Tuesday states a reason to know that they can continue to see and have us fight on.
You can see my full interviews and a lot more at meetthepress.com. You can also get more Meet the Press here on NBC News Now every weekday at 4 p.m.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much. For more on the race, let's bring in NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, good to have you with us. So another headline from Meet the Press, Nikki Haley calling out the Republican National Committee, saying that it's clearly not playing fairly. She's talking about this proposed plan that would have named Trump the presumptive nominee after just 2 contests, Iowa and New Hampshire. The RNC did not respond to a request for comment on Haley's remarks. Is that something the party is seriously considering?
I mean, they certainly got over their skis, or at least one of their members, David Bossie, who is a former Trump campaign official from the 2016 campaign, got over his skis in terms of trying to push the Republican National Committee to come in and declare an end to the race when obviously former Governor Haley is still running, when they have not gotten very far into the map. And it was so clear that he was over his skis that the RNC and David Bossie pulled back.
So, John, Trump returned to the campaign trail in Las Vegas over the weekend for the first time since losing that defamation damages case here in New York. He was ordered to pay more than $83 million to writer E. Jean Carroll. What were some of the big takeaways from his remarks on Saturday? Is he focused on Haley? Is he focused on Biden? Did he mention anything about that $83 million verdict?
I mean, he's focused on everything right now, Joe. I mean, you know, obviously he's very upset about this verdict, but he's also well aware that every time he says something bad about somebody related to this case, that it could cost him another $83 million or maybe even more than that. You know, people often talk about, you know, having foul you money to use, you know, sort of a euphemism, but nobody has that kind of value money. Donald Trump focuses on everything in his speeches, as he did in Nevada. You know, I think he is very confident that he's closer to the Republican nomination, but also very confident and cognizant that he has a lot of court battles ahead of him.
Let's talk about President Biden. I want to ask you about his campaign trying to organize this fundraising event that would feature the president along with former presidents Clinton and Obama. What are the tentative plans? Do we think maybe we're going to see these former presidents more often in 2024 than maybe we saw 4 years ago?
I don't think there's anyone in the Democratic Party that questions Joe Biden's need for all the help that he can get. You know, for those who believe that Donald Trump is, as Biden says, a threat to democracy, it's hard to explain why you would sit on the sidelines. In the case of particularly former President Clinton, but I think also former President Obama, fundraising is one of the better, one of the bigger things they can do. They have their own fundraising networks, their own people who are willing to write, multi-million-dollar checks to them. So, it's not surprising they're trying to do this, but it would be a one-of-a-kind event.
All right, John, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Republicans aren't the only ones focused on South Carolina. In his bid to win a second term, President Biden was there this past weekend ahead of the upcoming Democratic primary, which is this Saturday. As NBC News correspondent Aaron Gilchrist explains, one of the president's challenges in that state and nationwide is a big drop in support among black voters.
President Biden back in South Carolina.
I heard about this place.
His first stop, a black-owned barbershop in downtown Columbia. in re-election mode with his focus on young and black voters whose support has been slipping.
With the Palestinian-Israel war going on, I think my view personally has shifted on Biden.
Gen Z, we want to see things getting done and not just hearing about pro-America, pro-freedom, and pro-democracy.
How's everybody? 16-term Congressman Jim Clyburn leading the charge for Biden here, just as he did 4 years ago.
There's no better way for good people to break their silence than to march to the ballot boxes.
An NBC News survey in November showed 61% of black voters would choose Biden over a Republican. In 2020, NBC News exit polls showed Biden won 87% of the black vote.
What does he need to do to make people feel like he's done a good job?
I think he's done a good job, and that's what we've got to do, is get people to see that.
Clyburn again making the case for Biden in a state where Clyburn is revered, a leading voice in black communities for decades. He calls himself President Biden's validator.
That's what we've got to do between now and November. Tell people what it is that we've done. Tell them what the rescue plan is all about. Tell them what the infrastructure bill is all about.
The campaign also taking that message to young voters with college visits, social media posts, and radio spots. University of South Carolina junior Kyle Brantley supports Biden, but says students want a more visible seat at the table.
When the campaign understands that and realizes that now, and especially moving forward, they'll be able to connect more with the youth voting bloc.
The foundation is already there, and now we just have to get them reelected so that they can continue the work.
That was Aaron Gilchrist reporting. A Biden campaign official says moving South Carolina and Nevada earlier on the Democratic calendar elevates the diverse groups that President Biden needs to win in November. Coming up, a new warning about traveling to the Bahamas from the U.S. State Department. A surge in gang violence there led to a jump in murders in the past month. What should you do if you booked a trip? Welcome back. The U.S. State Department is issuing a new travel alert for the Bahamas. It's urging travelers to increase caution if they're planning a trip to the island. It's because of a recent spike in murders and violence in the nation's capital. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra has the details.
A new warning for Americans looking to trade the white of winter for the white sands of the Bahamas. A dramatic spike in crime has prompted the U.S. State Department to raise their travel advisory from level 1 to level 2, recommending visitors exercise increased caution. The U.S. Embassy in the Bahamas says there have been 18 murders in the capital of Nassau within the first few weeks of 2024, some in broad daylight, with retaliatory gang violence as the primary motive.
There's always been an existing gang culture in the Bahamas and other Caribbean nations. But what's really noteworthy here is it's spilled over into the streets and is now affecting tourists.
The Bahamian Prime Minister this week announcing a crackdown on crime.
The persistent cycle of violence and crime has been a dark cloud over our nation.
U.S. officials warning in Friday's advisory that violent crimes such as burglaries, armed robberies, and sexual assaults occur in both tourist and non-tourist areas. And all of this days after the department reissued their Level 3 Reconsider Travel Advisory further south in the Caribbean and Jamaica. So what's the best advice if you're planning a trip there?
That does not mean you should call off your trip, but rather you should focus on the precautions.
For travelers, the State Department recommends don't answer the door unless you know who it is. Do not physically resist a robbery attempt. Enroll in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program for emergency alerts. And even in paradise, always have a safety plan. Marissa Parra, NBC News.
Let's get some international headlines, starting off in Istanbul, where two gunmen attacked a Catholic church during Sunday morning mass. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other news from around the world. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Well, that's right. That attack happened during Mass at the Church of Santa Maria. You can see it all happening in this video footage released by CCTV. Now, two gunmen entered the church and killed at least one person. An Islamic State group has since claimed responsibility for the violent attack. According to Turkey's Interior Minister, both murder suspects have been captured, but their motive is still unknown. Now let's travel over to Ukraine, where 5 people have been arrested over allegedly trying to embezzle $40 million through a bogus arms deal. 2 out of the 5 are senior officials from the Ministry of Defense. The money was originally supposed to be used to buy shells. The ministry says they paid for the weapons last year, but this fraudulent firm failed to deliver on anything, instead diverting some of the funds to a bank account in the Balkans. All 5 people could face up to 12 years in prison. This is a big emotional blow as the country approaches a nearly 3-year-long war with Russia. And we end our short tour of the world right here in my home, Italy. Venice is kicking off Carnival, and some people may have been dressed up as cardinals. And Joe, it's probably one of the only times you might actually be excited to see not only a cardinal, but also a giant rat. Tourists hit the streets along the Grand Canal to see all of the colorful floats and costumes. Venice Carnival began hundreds of years ago to celebrate excess before fasting starts for Lent. And this year's festival ends mid-February, so you've got a few more days to join the party. Back to you.
Looks like fun. Claudio, thank you so much. From a rat on the water to animals in the streets, coming up, a wild scene played out on the streets of Indiana. Camels and zebras roaming the highway. How it happened and the officers who were forced to wrangle them all. That's next. We're back now with a rather unusual scene on an Indiana highway. A semi-truck carrying animals, these animals, caught on fire. They are all okay, but the officers found themselves juggling a circus of their own, trying to wrangle all those animals. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has that story.
When this semi went up in flames, police say they found the driver safely outside the truck. But there were several more lives trapped inside the trailer along an Indiana highway. Police say the semi was carrying 10 circus animals, 5 zebras, 4 camels, and a miniature horse rescued by officers suddenly standing on the side of an interstate, even posing for pictures.
That's definitely a very unique situation to have to deal with, not only the semi fire, but our vehicle fire, but yeah, with those types of animals in the state of Indiana.
Police believe an equipment failure sparked the blaze. It was extinguished, according to authorities, who say 2 first responders received treatment for smoke inhalation at the hospital before being released.
It's awesome to see that teamwork, that they get together and they do their job. And, you know, they will go inside of a trailer that has smoke that's filling up because the cab is completely engulfed in flames.
One responding agency writing on Facebook, "Our public safety professionals of all stripes work together to get over the hump on this job."
Loading up, go now.
Traffic is moving again after that group of animals far from the circus still put on a show. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
Over the hump. All right, let's get to some money news. United Airlines weighing some other options for its future jets as the chaos surrounding Boeing flies on. CNBC's Silvana Henao is that and other financial headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. So United Airlines has approached Airbus about buying more A321 jets to fill a potential gap left by delays in production for Boeing's 737 MAX 10. Now, Reuters reports United CEO recently flew to France to discuss a potential deal with Airbus after the blowout on an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 raised new doubts over the certification of the MAX 10. Last week, United CEO said the company hasn't canceled any MAX 10 orders, but it has removed them from its internal plans. Philips reaching an agreement with the FDA on terms of a settlement linked to the recall of its CPAP machine. So the company pulled the devices in 2021 following reports foam inside the machine could degrade and potentially release harmful gas or particles in users' lungs. Until the requirements of the consent decree with the FDA are met, Philips won't sell any new CPAP devices in the U.S., but will continue to service existing ones. And a majority of workers say it's hard or impossible to consistently save enough money to feel comfortable for emergencies, retirement, or any other reason. A new report from Bankrate finds 53% of people believe so, given their current financial situation. Less than half say they could afford to pay for a $1,000 emergency expense from their savings, while 56% also say they feel behind in their retirement savings. and 45% think it's unlikely they'll save enough to be able to retire comfortably. Bankrate says small contributions to savings can make a big impact. For example, if you contribute $20 a month to a savings account for 5 years, you can save roughly $1,200, Joe.
Reminder, a little bit can add up to a lot. All right,
A little bit, exactly.
Thanks so much. Coming up, meltdown in Melbourne, the wild ending to this week's men's Australian Open. What happened on the court that we haven't seen in almost 20 years? A Swiftie from Pakistan is making global headlines, breaking a Guinness World Record for identifying Taylor Swift songs. 20-year-old Bilal Ilyas Jandir managed to recognize 34 tracks in 1 minute from just the opening lyrics. That breaks a record set by a British fan back in 2019. Jandir says he trained for the Guinness World Record attempt for 13 weeks, which meant he often recited lyrics in his sleep. By the way, with Travis Kelce now headed to the Super Bowl, fans now wondering whether Swift will be able to get there to support him on February 11th. Swift has a gig thousands of miles away in Tokyo on February 10th. So although it may sound impossible, well, that doesn't factor in the fact that Japan is 17 hours ahead of Pacific time. So according to The Athletic, if Swift got on a private jet, which I'm guessing she has access to, right after her set, she could make it to Vegas by 4 p.m., a full day before the game. Look forward to that breathless coverage. The first tennis Grand Slam of the year now in the books, and this year's Australian Open was a tournament to remember. Jannik Sinner rallied from 2 sets down to win his first Grand Slam and take the Australian Open men's title. Sinner, now the first Italian to win the tournament. For more on the Australian Open, we're joined by Hall of Fame tennis coach and author Rick Macci, a friend of our show. Rick, good to have you with us. So walk through Sinner's big win over the weekend. How big is it, first of all, for tennis to have its first Italian player win this tournament? And just coming back from 2 sets down against Medvedev, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
Very historic, you know, to come from 2 sets down, that's one thing. But it's the first time that he has been in this situation. Medvedev, this is his 6th final, and he's coming off a big win, Sinner, over Djokovic in the semis. So I think it shows you inside what's inside this guy. But it is historic. And the reason why, he's the first Italian male player since 1976, okay, to do this. I mean, he might be replacing soccer in Italy, you know? So at the end of the day, when this kid was a junior, he was an Olympic skier on the slope, and now he's getting 2 thumbs up from the Pope.
Beating Djokovic in the semifinals, how big of a deal was that? What does that tell us?
It's huge, but he's been there, done that. He's beaten him before. We talked a week ago. It's going to be him or Alcaraz because they've beaten him before, and that gives you a lot of confidence. But the difference this time was the way he did it. You know, the first 2 sets were easy. Sinner has amazing firepower, okay? And Djokovic, the whole tournament, didn't play that well. So I'm not ready to say there's a new sheriff in town, but there's definitely one trending.
Never count out Djokovic. All right, let's talk about the women's side of the tournament. Just how impressive was Aryna Sabalenka winning her 2nd straight Australian Open?
First off, I love this player simply because she has more easy liquid power off the ground than anybody in the world. But the main difference now, okay, if I back the truck up to 2022, this young lady in 55 matches hit 428 double faults. I mean, Joe, there was Christmas presents and there wasn't any Christmas going on. So she brought in a biomechanist. They put Humpty Dumpty back together. And in the finals, bang, no double faults. And when she's not given free points, she's dangerous on any surface, any time, against anybody.
No more Christmas presents. All right, I like that, Rick. We got 20 seconds here. Just real quick, Coco Gauff didn't win this time, but what do you expect from her this year?
She's not going anywhere. We talked about this before. She's a teenager, one of the best backhands on the tour, but I actually like her backbone better than her backhand. I love her motto, no days off. Coco's only going to get better. And what I really love, she has the mindset like Roger Federer.
All right, writing down all the quotes here from Rick Macci this morning. Rick, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good to see you, Joe.
We end the hour with a look at one doctor's efforts to help kids living and recovering from cancer to conquer fear and make new friends. NBC News Now anchor Kate Snow has that story.
That was a good one.
There you go.
At Planet Rock Fitness in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Keep going. Almost halfway.
These brave kids are reaching new heights.
Are you ready to go?
While building strength, courage, and community.
Yeah! Let's go!
That's life-changing because the children here are either living with or recovering from cancer.
All right, do it again, buddy. A little higher than the black triangle.
It's a free program called Rock Cancer, dreamed up by pediatric oncologist Dr. Carl Koshman from the University of Michigan. What is it about rock climbing that's magic?
It's your whole body, arms, hands, feet, it all has to go together. But it is the mental piece, right? You have to talk yourself into getting higher. You know, for these kids who haven't done it before, it is a mental leap.
Come on, you got it. Nice.
It was a project created with his patient, Vera James, 7 years ago.
I'm Vera.
To build strength following her grueling treatments for kidney cancer. This is Vera today.
Thanks.
Now 17 and cancer-free, she's encouraging other young warriors. It sounds like the rock climbing is giving people the strength to keep battling that cancer.
Come on, you got it.
It's something distracting. It's something to feel normal. It's a good starting point just to get used to getting up the wall.
It's also a source of support for parents like Rebecca Hodge.
Was that hard or too easy? Too easy? Wow.
For a few precious hours each month, her son Zach gets to simply be a kid again.
I mean, the disease doesn't own him. He owns the disease. And obviously for me, it's like I get a sense of normalcy back, so.
A place where joy and confidence are reached.
You got it, Ellis.
One step at a time.
Good job, dude. Was that fun?
Yeah.
Nice. Here, give me a fist bump.
I think it's important to remind people in this program that you're not alone. And then I think that's the most important part.
You're not alone.
Exactly.
Our thanks to Kate Snow for that inspiring story. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stay with us. The news continues right now. Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah has the day off. Developing right now on Morning News Now, President Biden vowing retaliation after 3 U.S. soldiers were killed in a drone attack near the Jordan-Syria border. We're going to bring you the president's response to this deadly attack and where the Biden administration is placing the blame. The crisis on the southern border is heating up this morning, with President Biden striking perhaps his most decisive tone on immigration yet. We're going to bring you the latest from Washington as the House unveils articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and as lawmakers work to get that new bipartisan spending deal with aid to both the border and Ukraine to the president's desk. Also this morning, it's that time of the year again. Tax season has officially begun. Later in the hour, we've got some tips on how you can get the most money back in your pocket, plus a new proposed policy on Capitol Hill that could affect the refunds of some American parents. And it is official. We are looking ahead to a star-studded Super Bowl matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. But the question on many minds naturally is, will Taylor Swift be there after she steps off the stage in Tokyo the day before Super Bowl Sunday? Inquiring minds want to know. Good to have you with us. We begin this hour in the Middle East, where 3 U.S. troops were killed and dozens were injured in a drone strike. The Pentagon says the attack happened in northeastern Jordan. President Biden blamed Iran-backed groups for the incident, but Iran denies involvement. It is the first deadly attack on U.S. forces since the war in Gaza began. NBC's chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the latest from the Jordanian capital, Amman.
Hey there, good day to you. Iran is attempting to distance itself from this attack, saying it does not send orders to what it calls resistance groups. But an Iranian proxy is being blamed for the deaths of 3 Americans here in Jordan, the kind of escalation between the US and Iran that's long been feared. This morning, the Biden administration vowing to take all necessary action after an unmanned drone strike sent, it said, by Iran-backed militant groups. 3 U.S. soldiers were killed, the first American military fatalities from hostile fire since war broke out between Israel and Hamas on October 7th. Another major escalation in a region already in turmoil. And US Central Command said more than 30 were wounded in the attack in northeast Jordan at a remote base on the border with Syria and Iraq called Tower 22. 8 personnel, CENTCOM said, were evacuated to higher level care. President Biden yesterday leading a moment of silence and promising an American response.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We lost 3 brave souls in an attack on one of our bases, and we shall respond.
The base, that can be seen by satellite, is tasked with fighting the remnants of ISIS and limiting Iran's reach in Syria. 2 US officials told NBC News a drone packed with explosives had struck American troops as they slept. It's the latest and deadliest attack on US forces, facing conflicts with Iran-backed groups on multiple fronts. One, called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, saying it targeted 3 US bases in the region on Sunday, partly in revenge, it says, for Israel's military campaign in Gaza. With America already locked in an escalating confrontation with the Houthis in Yemen over the group's continued attacks on global shipping, the Houthis praising the fatal strike on US troops. Now Republicans demanding a more forceful response from the US. Senator Lindsey Graham writing, "I am calling on the Biden administration to strike targets of significance inside Iran. Hit Iran now, hit them hard." In a region already rocked by events in Israel and Gaza, the US has paused funding to a major UN agency after Israel said some of its staff participated in Hamas terror attacks on Israel on October 7th. The UN saying it has fired 9 staffers as the investigation continues. The Pentagon says US forces in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 160 times by Iranian-backed groups. The Biden administration has been trying to negotiate a ceasefire in Gaza whilst warning Iran not to escalate. But this morning, allies of the US from Bahrain to Egypt are warning of further instability in this region while calling what happened a terrorist attack.
All right, Keir, thank you so much. Earlier this morning, our colleagues on the Today Show spoke with White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby. He was asked about the U.S. response to the deadly escalation of violence in the Middle East. Here's some of what he had to say.
I can tell you we're reviewing our options right now about what the right next step here is to Savannah and what the response needs to look like. I mean, obviously, we're now in different territory here with 3 Americans killed and more than 30 wounded. And by the way, our thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by this violence, certainly the families of those who got the worst possible news over the weekend. But we're taking a look real hard at what the options need to be for a response. And I won't get ahead of the president, but I can tell you that he takes very, very seriously our obligation to defend ourselves, our troops, and our facilities in the region.
Many Republican lawmakers are calling for a, quote, devastating response against Iran directly, including strikes inside Iran. Is retaliation inside Iran on the table of options for this administration?
Well, I hope you can understand that I'm not going to get ahead of the president's decision space here or talk about what the options might be. He said we'll respond. We absolutely will. We'll do it at a time and in a manner of our choosing, certainly. But obviously, this requires a response.
But it's not ruled out. Would you say that?
We are not looking for a war with Iran. We're not looking to escalate the conflict in the region. There'll be a range of options that the president will take a look at. And again, I don't want to get ahead of him on this.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General C.Q. Brown, said in an interview that was taped prior to this latest attack, but that aired yesterday, he doesn't believe Iran wants war with the U.S. Is that the president's view? Has anything about that changed?
I think, look, we've, as he said, we've communicated directly to Iran what we expect here to see. Obviously, these attacks keep coming. We'll keep looking at the options. I can't speak for the Supreme Leader or what he wants or he doesn't want. I can tell you what we want. What we want is a stable, secure, prosperous Middle East, and we want these attacks to stop. That means we've got options here ahead of us, and we're going to have to work our way through that.
That was John Kirby speaking with Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show this morning. Now to the ongoing crisis at the southern border. Senate negotiators are inching closer to a bipartisan border security deal behind closed doors and might be able to pass legislation as early as this week. But getting that measure through the House, well, that's just one of several hurdles lawmakers are facing. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas joins us now from the southern border with the latest. Guad, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Congress has been working on this deal for months, with President Biden now taking a tougher stance, embracing tougher border measures, potentially shutting it down if it means locking in that deal with Republicans to get that aid for Ukraine and an immigration deal. As the influx of migrants continues at the southern border, Washington hoping a deal to stem the tide could be close.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly.
President Biden and lawmakers working on a bipartisan deal to expand the president's authority at the border. Lawmakers hopeful it can pass.
We do have a bipartisan deal. We're finishing the text right now.
This despite former President Trump opposing the deal.
I'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. A bad bill you can't have.
Mr. Trump condemning the deal in a flurry of Truth Social posts over the weekend, claiming without evidence there will be major terror attacks if migrants continue to come in. Other Republicans pushing back.
Donald Trump, the last thing he needs to do is tell them to wait to pass a border deal until the election. We can't wait one more day.
And it comes as Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott is in a standoff with the federal government, denying federal agents access to an area in Eagle Pass that's been the epicenter of the migrant surge. Now surrounded by a fence and razor wire, the state even adding more razor wire after last week, a Supreme Court ruling gave Border Patrol agents the power to remove it. Republican governors from 25 states signing a letter supporting Texas.
Texas should stand their ground.
All this as House Republicans unveil articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans allege that Mayorkas displayed a refusal to comply with the law and accuse him of making false statements and knowingly obstructing lawful oversight of the Department of Homeland Security. DHS blasting the move, calling it an unconstitutional, evidence-free impeachment. Now, whether this border deal goes forward is an open question, with Trump opposing it. He has said he believes this would be, quote, a gift to President Biden in what is an election year. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with Republicans, other Republicans saying that this is the best deal that the party is going to get, Joe.
All right, we're going to see what happens this week. Wad, thank you so much. Time to take a closer look at your Morning News Now weather forecast and what to expect this week. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hi there, Joe. We're looking at a really quiet week, quiet day today, and we're going to keep it that way for the most part this week. No big, huge storms that we're tracking. Even taking a quick glance at satellite radar showing us that we are quiet this morning. A few showers in the Pacific Northwest, the extreme Pacific Northwest, and a few lingering snow showers in New England. Some showers along Long Island, some showers along the Appalachians, but that is about it. Everywhere else is dry, and we expect to be dry as we go throughout the day. So this is what it looks like on our Monday. Snow showers, it's a quick clipper system. Usually they're quick moving. They don't have a lot of moisture with them, but they're going to move through the Great Lakes. So we could see some snow showers there, not amounting to much, maybe an inch in some spots along the Appalachians as well. We're sunny and dry throughout the south central states, the Gulf Coast, the southeast, into the middle of the country. And the big story today will be the record highs that we're going to see in the west and also the middle of the country, with temperatures 10, even 30 degrees above normal for this time of year. Lots of spots getting into the 70s, some spots getting near 80 degrees. So as we look towards Wednesday, that's going to be the big story too. A few record highs still with above average temperatures. That clipper system that is in the Great Lakes today will make its way to the mid-Atlantic. So again, not a whole lot of moisture with it, but still could see some showers along the mid-Atlantic. And then the west is going to be wet again. We have a western storm moving in. That's going to bring some rain. It's going to bring the chance for some flooding rain as well, and even some mountain snow. That's Wednesday, and that will continue as we go throughout Thursday and Friday as well. It sort of is going to expand, and now we're talking about the southwest into the intermountain west. Lots of blue there. That's showing us some mountain snow, and we will see feet of snow in some spots and also some rain. So it will be wet along the west coast Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Snow showers in New England and the interior parts of the Northeast. But the February warmth continues. The January warmth continues, and then February as we get towards the end of the week. So January records today, we could see records in 12 different states. We could see 24 records fall as we go throughout the day. So 70s in Bakersfield, Sacramento. We're looking at 60s in Billings, well above normal for this time of year. The record in Sacramento is 70, so most likely we'll get there. there. January records could continue tomorrow as well. 70s in San Jose, also in Lancaster. We're also looking at 60s in Great Falls. So really warm temperatures to end out the month, and we're going to keep it mild Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. Temperatures still in the 60s and upper 50s in San Francisco. We do have that departing storm in the Northeast. We had some snow yesterday. That was we had rain too in portions of the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast as well. Heavy rain falling in eastern Long Island. That's about it. We have a few leftover light snow showers, but this is departing, and we will see that drying out. But we do have that Clipper system that's moving through the Great Lakes. That's going to bring some light snow showers to the Great Lakes along the Appalachians as well. It's going to dive south, and we're going to see by tomorrow it moving into the Ohio Valley. Still seeing blue on the map. That's showing us where we could see the snow. Also looking at the chance for some heavy rain where you see those brighter colors, the yellows especially, but not really heavy rain. We're just looking at more rain than what we're going to see today. And then it'll move off the Carolina coast by Wednesday. Additional snow, not a whole lot. We could see up to an inch in spots, but that would be about it. Portions of the Great Lakes along the Appalachians as well, and also eastern portions of New England. And then the wet weather in the west. We have a break today. We're going to keep it dry but breezy along the coast. And then we're looking at that moving in really Tuesday, Wednesday. And again, Joe, we could see some flooding concerns Tuesday and Wednesday along the West Coast. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is now speaking out about the swatting incident that happened at her home in South Carolina. Haley says she wasn't there at the time, but her parents, who are 87 and 90 years old, were. She says this is not the first time it's happened to them. It's now leading to renewed concerns over the growing number of hoax emergency service calls made to the homes of high-profile Americans. NBC's Steve Patterson has more.
Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley revealing her South Carolina home was a target of swatting late last month. It's when someone makes a fake emergency call, often alleging violence at a victim's home, serious enough for a heavily armed SWAT team. Haley saying on Meet the Press her elderly parents were there when it happened.
The last thing you want is to see multiple law enforcement officials with guns drawn pointing at my parents and thinking that something happened. It is an awful situation.
House Republican Whip Tom Emmer sharing his Minnesota home was also swatted, posting on social media that his family was targeted by a 911 prank call that wrongly diverted a police presence to my home, adding, thankfully, no one was home or injured. Law enforcement experts call it dangerous, illegal, and sometimes deadly.
This is not a game, and it potentially is life-changing. You're taking resources away from who could be responding to legitimate calls for assistance.
And no address is safe. The White House recently hit with a false call claiming there was a fire with someone trapped inside.
Medic 1 respond for fire in the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, all the west.
Authorities say more and more it's people in public service that are the targets, from Jack Smith, the special counsel prosecuting former President Trump, to Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, to Florida Senator Rick Scott, who recently co-authored a bill to crack down on swatting.
My bill will say if anybody gets hurt, you're going to jail.
A growing menace, causing harm and wasting resources. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Thanks to Steve Patterson for that report. From swatting to another concern, as the 2024 presidential campaign heats up, there are growing fears about the power of artificial intelligence and that it'll be used to trick voters with fake videos and phony calls. Here's News Now anchor Vicki Wynn with what you need to know.
Hugging and even kissing.
Now more than ever, it's getting harder to believe what you see.
Did Trump really kiss the top scientist? Well, of course he didn't.
Or hear.
What a bunch of malarkey.
Like this phone call to voters just before the New Hampshire primary.
It's important that you save your vote for the November election.
It sounds like President Biden, but the problem is it's not real. A fake likely created by artificial intelligence.
They are compelling and convincing. They sound real. They look real.
Video and audio deepfakes powered by AI are on the rise. And according to Public Citizen, right now there are no federal laws that make them illegal.
So there's massive possibility for fraud and really introducing electoral chaos.
So here's an example of what it looks like.
Ben Coleman is the CEO of Reality Defender, a software company combating AI deepfakes.
Is it a Wild West right now?
I think it's absolutely an arms race, yes.
Free tools available on the internet give anyone the ability to manipulate someone's voice. whether it's these viral clips of a fake Donald Trump singing or something more sinister.
What do political deepfakes stand to ruin when it comes to our trust in the election system?
I think they try and change the narrative in real time right before an election.
Experts say these scams can really happen to anyone.
Using audio of my voice from social media and news broadcasts, we saw firsthand how it works.
Let's type in a sentence like, hello, I'm Vicky Nguyen, and I'm running for president. And let's hear what it sounds like.
Okay.
Hello, I am Vicky Nguyen, and I am running for president.
Less than 10 seconds, we had a voice match of you.
Then he does it using his own voice.
Hi, this is Vicky Nguyen, and I'm asking you for your vote for president.
Hi, this is Vicky Nguyen, and I'm asking you for your vote for president.
Coleman warns it can be impossible to detect what's fake without the help of AI, so beware of where you get your information. Compare it with a variety of news sources. Don't share it if you're not sure it's real. That's how harmful misinformation goes viral.
Now she wants to remain neutral.
Fact versus fiction. Consumers facing new AI deepfakes, having to dig deeper to find the truth. Vicky Nguyen, NBC News, New York.
We've got much more to come on this Monday edition of Morning News Now, including some pretty terrifying new video showing the moments after that 10-year-old boy was bitten by a shark at a resort in the Bahamas. But first, could convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh soon be headed back to court for a retrial? Why, we could find out the answer to that question very soon. Welcome back. A South Carolina judge is expected to decide this week if Alec Murdaugh's murder case will have to be retried. The disgraced attorney is currently serving consecutive life sentences for killing his wife, Maggie, and younger son, Paul, after he was convicted by a South Carolina jury last year. Well, now the defense is calling for a retrial, alleging the clerk of court tampered with the jury. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from Columbia, South Carolina, with more on this. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. The clerk of court is accused of saying things to the jury like, watch him closely and not to be fooled. Now, she has denied those accusations, but the judge in this case, Joe, only has to find that one of the 12 jurors was prejudiced by her comments and voted to convict as a result. And we're talking about a brand new murder trial. It is the latest twist in this bizarre story.
Guilty. Less than a year after being convicted of killing his wife and youngest son, Alec Murdaugh will now be back in a South Carolina courtroom.
And he may be taken away.
Trying to get his highly publicized 6-week case retried.
Specific evidence about what was said, when it was said.
The judge overseeing the hearing, a former state Supreme Court justice, laid out basic ground rules for exploring scathing accusations the clerk of court, Becky Hill, tampered with the jury, and debated with Murdaugh's attorneys about who should be testifying, with the defense hoping to bring in alternates.
These people are witnesses to what the clerk said to the juror who deliberated.
Our focus will be on the jurors that heard this case, and not on either that alternate.
One juror writing in a sworn affidavit, Hill told them not to be fooled by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys, and also look at his actions and look at his movements, which I understood to mean that he was guilty. 10 other jurors did not make those accusations in their affidavits. One didn't submit one at all, and Hill herself denied the claims, writing in her affidavit, I did not tell the jury not to be fooled. I did not instruct the jury to watch him closely. I did not instruct the jury to look at his actions. But before the accusations, Hill was surprisingly vocal and public.
There were just so many things that happened behind these doors of justice that the whole world would be so interested, I think, to know.
Promoting her book, Behind the Doors of Justice, on NBC affiliate WSAV.
I think Alex got the justice that he deserved.
Murdaugh's attorneys arguing a conviction would have boosted her book sales, providing a possible motivation for tampering.
Craig, anytime there's outside influence in the sanctity of the jury room, it is improper.
Last Friday, one juror already testified due to a scheduling conflict.
State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Shortly after the trial, a trio of jurors sat down with Savannah and Craig, explaining what pushed them to guilty.
Well, the witness testimony was very believable, and the kennel video definitely played a major part in his testimony.
Now, Now, Joe, behind me, you're looking at members of the media and members of the public, some of whom have been waiting here since 4 or 5 in the morning to get inside of court. Later today, the judge is going to be calling in the jurors one by one. She's going to handle the questioning there, and the defense and state will both be able to question Becky Hill, who is expected to testify either later this afternoon or tomorrow. And then we will find out what exactly is going to happen with this murder trial, which, of course, captivated the country for 6 weeks. But we have to do it all over again. Back to you, Joe.
Still captivating us. All right, Sam, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News Now legal analyst Angela Senadella. Angela, good to have you with us. So first of all, as this hearing gets underway, what are you going to be watching out for this week?
Well, as Sam noted, we heard one juror testify on Friday, but there are 11 remaining. And I am looking to see if any of them say not only if there was improper contact, but if any of that contact could have possibly prejudiced them into making a decision. Now, what we will not be seeing today, though, is the testimony of the alternate juror and also the dismissed juror, who the defense really tried to get into this hearing today because those are allegedly the people that Becky Hill had the most contact with. But the judge really specifically limited the jurors today to only the ones who deliberated in the actual decision.
So not hearing from Murdaugh, but hearing from some of the jurors, then hearing from Hill. Just how unusual is a hearing like this with this specific issue?
It is extraordinarily unusual, especially in a high-profile case like this. Usually the steps that are taken during the course of the actual trial themselves to ensure that there is no outside influence whatsoever, any contact whatsoever with the jury, are so high, especially in a case like this. So the fact that we're even here today, the fact that this judge was even willing to have an evidentiary hearing with regards to whether or not there was jury tampering is extraordinary. Joe.
So does Murdaugh have a shot here? I mean, what's his team going to have to prove to get a new trial?
I believe he actually really does have a shot. So he had attempted to hold the standard to be any improper contact. So if anyone talked to the jury outside of the boundaries of who was supposed to talk to the jury or said anything they weren't supposed to, that was what his team wanted. But the judge actually changed the standard and said it will be whether or not any of that contact resulted in evidence that could prejudice the jury. So that is a much higher standard. But if Becky Hill did say some of the things that are alleged, that could possibly meet the standard, Joe.
And remind us, if we have a new trial here, a retrial, what does that look like? Is it basically just seeing what we saw in the first trial, probably all over again? Could we see new strategies?
Yes, so the defense could have a whole new shot at a trial. That means totally new strategies. They would not be bound by anything that happened in this first trial. That means that everything could start from scratch. So we are waiting with bated breath to see if that could possibly happen.
All right, Angela Senadella, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Coming up, a potential breakthrough in the nearly 90-year-old mystery of Amelia Earhart's disappearance. After the break, the deep-sea discovery that one man says could be the aviator's long-lost plane. That's next on Morning News Now. We're back with newly released video showing the aftermath of that terrifying shark attack on a child at a resort in the Bahamas. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra has the story and a warning: the video could be disturbing to some viewers.
New video shows tourists walking along the bottom of the shark exhibit as sharks swim around them as planned. But above, a horrifying scene. The blue water stained red. The aftermath of a shark attack on a 10-year-old boy at this resort in the Bahamas. Seen for the first time in this video posted by TMZ. The swimmers in the water, including the boy, were taking part in the Walking with Sharks expedition at the Atlantis Resort, where guests wearing a special oxygen helmet can move freely among sharks without cages or barriers. But it's been almost 2 weeks since a thrill in paradise turned to a nightmare when a boy who hasn't been identified was bit in the leg.
My brother-in-law witnessed the young boy coming to the surface and screaming, and chaos ensued.
Kim Darden, who was there, says the boy's mother and father are heroes.
The boy's father jumped into the water, swam over to him, and swam him back to where they got in and out. After that, the mom immediately jumped into action. She wrapped his leg up, tourniquet style, with towels.
The tank was filled with nurse and Caribbean reef sharks, neither considered as aggressive species.
Anything in a captive environment is considered provoked. The animals are in a very unnatural environment.
This is the first guest-related incident for Walking with Sharks since it started in 2006, according to Blue Adventures, the company that operates the experience, adding they've launched a full investigation. Atlanta's Paradise Island Resort saying in part, "Our hearts are with the child and their parents," saying further the experience will remain closed during the investigation. And now, new updates from the Bahamian hospital where the boy was first taken. Said to be in good spirits as he was airlifted to the U.S. last week for more treatment. Now recovering in his home state of Maryland. Marissa Parra, NBC News.
Now to some international headlines. State media says North Korea is testing a new upgraded missile for the second time in a week. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. State media in North Korea says that Kim Jong-un himself supersided over a new test firing of a new type of cruise missiles that is designed to be launched from submarines. Now, the North Korea's official newspaper published photos of what appear to be at least 2 missiles breaking the water surface and soaring into the air. The Korean Central News Agency also reiterated the North Korean leader's goal of building a nuclear-armed navy to counter what it portrays as a growing threat by the US, South Korea, and Japan. Let's now go to France, where angry farmers are threatening to drive their tractors to the main fresh food market in Paris to demand better pay, less red tape, and protection against cheap imports. On Sunday, France's Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin ordered security forces to ban any convoy of farmers from entering the capital and any other big city, and announced the deployment of 15,000 officers to prevent any blockade. In a separate incident earlier on Sunday, 2 climate activists hurled soup at the glass protecting the Mona Lisa in the Louvre Museum and shouted slogans advocating for a sustainable food system. And we end our short tour of the world with some royally good news. Kensington Palace says Catherine, Princess of Wales, is finally home from the hospital almost 2 weeks after her abdominal surgery. Details about the surgery have not yet been made public, but reports say she will need another several months to recover at home. A Kensington Palace spokesperson also says the princess is making good progress and that her family are grateful for all the well wishes they received from all over the world. Back to you, Joe.
All right, that is some good news. Claudio, thank you so much. It is one of the great unsolved mysteries and questions in aviation. What happened to aviator Amelia Earhart? Well, now, after nearly a century, the founder of a deep-sea exploration company believes he has made a major breakthrough. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is here to tell us more about the latest search and what it found. Emily, good morning.
Joe, good morning to you. So many adventurers have tried to find the plane Amelia Earhart was flying when she disappeared on a journey around the world, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean in 1937. The latest expedition was undertaken by a real estate investor and pilot who says his sonar images may well show Earhart's plane at the bottom of the Pacific.
For almost 90 years, the mystery of what happened to trailblazing aviator Amelia Earhart has intrigued generations after she vanished flying her twin-engine aircraft in 1937. Now, one man bent on solving the mystery believes he's found a major clue. Tony Romeo believes this sonar image could show Earhart's plane, which was never recovered, at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
Well, you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that it's anything but an aircraft, for one, and two, that it's not Amelia's aircraft.
Romeo, a pilot and former Air Force intelligence officer, sold his real estate investments to start a deep-sea exploration company and fund an expedition last year to the suspected area of the crash. In December, the team was reviewing the sonar data collected by a state-of-the-art underwater drone when something caught their eye.
I mean, it was a surreal moment.
A sonar expert telling NBC News it's too soon to say for sure that the images show a plane, let alone Earhart's, but that it's an exciting possibility worth going back to confirm. But Romeo is confident.
There's no other known crashes in the area, and certainly not of that era, and that kind of design with the tail that you see clearly in the image.
The image was taken about 100 miles from Homeland Island, halfway between Australia and Hawaii. Earhart and her navigator expected to land there in July 1937 for a refueling stop on her journey around the world. Earhart and the plane never arrived. Since then, several expeditions have sought to find clues about what happened without success. Now, Romeo's team will return to the site, hopefully later this year.
So the next step is confirmation. Then there's a lot we need to know about it. And it looks like there's some damage it's been sitting there for 87 years at this point.
Hoping to find answers about the fate of a legend 16,000 feet under the sea.
I think myself that it is the greatest mystery of all time, and certainly the most enduring aviation mystery of all time.
So now that they have the coordinates, Romeo's team wants to get a clearer image with a camera and an ROV, remotely operated vehicle, to confirm exactly what is down there. But of course, deep sea expeditions like this, they are not cheap. He's already spent $11 million so far. He says his company is aiming to return later this year or 2025. So to be continued.
We'll see. And it is amazing how the technology has sort of cleared the way for just the possibility that maybe we can find these things. All right, Emily, thank you so much. Coming up, tax season kicking off today. There are a few new rules this year for business owners, or maybe those Americans who run a side hustle and use payment apps like PayPal or Venmo. We're going to bring you everything you need to know to get some cash back into your pocket. That's next. Over the weekend, the world marked International Holocaust Remembrance Day. NBC News correspondent Harry Smith visited a new exhibit at New York's Museum of Jewish Heritage that details a relatively unknown story of bravery, one of history's starkest hours.
All right, so if you want to, we have Eric over here.
I go to the Jewish school, and this new kid moved from Austria.
A most unusual exhibit.
They don't seem to be giving the Jews here a hard time.
Holograms telling a story about horror and heroism. In Europe during World War II, being Jewish meant imprisonment and death for more than 6 million.
What was going on in Europe at the time and how the Danes and the Danish response to Nazi occupation was completely different from the experience of the Jews in other parts of Europe.
But the Jews of Denmark believed they were safe. For much of the war, they were.
And literally overnight, the Jews went into hiding, and their neighbors worked together with resistance and just all of their countrymen to save 95% of the Jews who were ferried to safety in Sweden in tiny little boats.
Curator Ellen Barry at the Museum of Jewish Heritage describes an armada of goodness.
One mission at a time, 10 to 15 people, rowboats, kayaks, fishing boats, and 95% of the population was saved.
The voyage to neutral Sweden was not a great distance, but to avoid capture, some trips took more than a dozen hours. The Danes risked their own lives to save the lives of their neighbors.
And we see that throughout the entire exhibit. The one thing that they can take from it is to help when they can, no matter what it is.
It's a miracle so many of us made it to Sweden.
High school student Imogen Williams portrays Rebecca, a Jewish refugee in Denmark.
And it gets so cold in the winter that sometimes I wake up with the sheets actually frozen.
And when you're gone. In real life, Imogen's own grandfather was one of the more than 7,000 Jews whose lives were saved by the Danes in 1943.
Did you feel honored to have the chance to do that?
Yes, definitely. I like telling that story, and I'm glad that kids and also people my age and up can see it. Like, I want my friends to go see this.
Imogen,
Charlotte Cohn is Imogen's mom. We wondered what lessons her father shared, having been rescued by the Danes.
He always taught us to be tolerant, live and let live, accept people for who they are. We can all get along. It doesn't have to be us and them.
The Nazis were allowed to just close down.
The exhibit, designed for students 9 and older, looks to be reaching its audience.
People need to know that this stuff has happened so history does not repeat itself. At the end, the quote where we weren't heroes, we just did what was right, and that, as simple as that.
Students were asked to reflect in writing what they experienced.
It also shows that no matter who you are or how old you are, you can help make change in the world.
For Sunday Today, Harry Smith, New York.
Such an important lesson. All right, let's get to some financial headlines. Bloomberg reporting that Amazon will now run ads on its Prime Video service here in the U.S. starting today. CNBC's Savannah now is that and other money news. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. Yes, so Amazon will start running ads on its Prime Video service today, joining streaming rivals like Netflix, Disney, and Peacock. Amazon announced late last year that Prime subscribers will see commercials in movies and shows unless they choose to pay an extra $3 a month for an ad-free plan. The new ad-supported tier is expected to generate $5 billion a year in revenue. Amazon is also betting with its status as the world's largest online retailer, it can persuade viewers to shop from their TVs. Fossil has called it quits on smartwatches. The company announcing it's getting out of that business and will refocus on less smart products. Fossil has been one of the biggest makers of Wear OS smartwatches over the past several years. This means the Gen 6, which launched in 2021, will be the last Fossil smartwatch, but the company will continue to update software for the next few years. And a majority of taxpayers feel they pay too much, with many saying they're getting a poor value in return. In a new poll from the Associated Press and University of Chicago, about 2/3 of taxpayers say they spend too much on federal income taxes. About 70% say the same about local property taxes, while roughly 6 in 10 feel that way about state sales tax, Joe.
All right.
I mean, yeah, I know. We all pay too much, right?
Not stunning. Savannah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's stay on the topic of taxes. Starting today, you can begin filing those 2023 returns. The IRS expects more than 128 million of them will be filed by the April deadline. So if you have not already, now is the time to start at least getting organized, gathering up all those important financial documents so that you can hopefully get some money back in your pocket. Joining us now is NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans. Good to have you with us. So first of all, I want to talk. So Congress has proposed an expansion of the child care tax credit. That could be good news for parents,
this
right?
is really big and it's really newsy right now because we know that expanded child tax credit helped lift a whole lot of people out of poverty during the pandemic. So this is a proposal that's there in front of Congress right now to raise what's refundable for that child tax credit from $1,600 right now to $1,800, and so that would affect this tax season if they get their act together and get it passed. And then there are even more changes for the next couple of years. So watch this space. That's news happening right in the middle of the tax season.
All right, we'll take it. Every little bit counts. So let's talk about people who might be small business owners. Maybe they have a side hustle and they're using apps like Venmo or PayPal to get some of that money. There's something important they need to know, right?
Yeah, so look, on the books, you're supposed to, everything $600 or more, you're supposed to report as income, but they haven't really figured out exactly how this is going to work. So you need to know 200 transactions or $20,000. If you reach that threshold, 200 transactions or 20 grand, that's when you have to report it to the IRS. And so also watch this space because I think that the IRS is going to be working with tax writers to figure out exactly what that rule is going to look like going ahead.
So many more people are doing these things that it's growing, right? So, all right. So for those who are really well organized and really just on it and want to get, that's not me. Okay. I'm starting to think about it though. Is that you?
It's not me yet, but by the end of the week, yes.
Okay. So it's you then, basically. If you want to get your return back faster, how do you do that?
So here's why I'm going to do it by the end of the week, because Congress also punted that deadline for a government shutdown, which would send all these IRS workers home. So you want to get your return filed, you want to file it digitally, you want to opt in for direct deposit, and it should take about 3 weeks. And again, you want to get ahead of whatever the mess could be if Congress doesn't do its job and doesn't keep the government open. So I would say sooner is always better, especially since we're in this. You want the money. A lot of families want the money if they're going to have a refund.
Exactly. And the fact that you're doing it shows why you're a senior business correspondent. The last thing I want to ask you about is inflation. We saw it tick up a little higher last month. This sort of surprised me. That can have an impact on your taxes. So
it's another reason to file early, right? Another reason to file early. And that is because the IRS has all of these inflation adjustments in like 60 different things that they factor in. So if your income did not keep pace with inflation, according to Jackson Hewitt, the tax firm, you could see a 10% increase in your return this year. your refund this year, rather.
Okay.
So that's important. So for people who are held back by inflation, there are going to be these little tweaks in there. They do this to take the rough edges of inflation off of taxpayers, you know, so it's the law is designed that way. So it could be a bigger refund this year for a lot of folks.
Could be some good news.
Yep.
I lied. I do have one more question for you. When you watch TV, subtitles on or off?
Off.
Off. Too distracting?
Too distracting. Does that mean I'm old or young, right?
Well, according to the numbers, it means you're old. But it also means I'm with you on that one.
Okay, good.
So, all right, Christine Romans,
Nice to
thank
see
you so
you.
much. I ask you because we're going to talk about the growing debate taking place inside some households in front of the TV. Should you watch your favorite shows or movies with the subtitles on? Well, recent surveys show the younger you are, the more likely you are to say yes. I spoke with families that are at odds and the strong stances some take when it comes to subtitles. These days, the bickering around the TV isn't over what to watch, but how to watch.
I like subtitles. I feel like they're helpful, and they add to the experience.
I see you sighing here.
I hate subtitles. I think it's very distracting from the movie or TV that you're trying to watch.
Melanie Torres and Chase Brown are social media influencers.
Oh no, it's happening again. I don't understand what they're saying.
They recently dramatized their disagreement on TikTok.
How does he understand without subtitles? I can't do this. This is too stressful.
Those who agree with Melanie say subtitles can help them focus or maybe help them understand thick accents. How do you decide? You flip a coin, rock, paper, scissors, like...
Whoever gets to the TV first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right,
Whoever gets to the TV first, whoever can... If she goes to the bathroom, sometimes I'll click them off real quick.
These couch quarrels are quite commonplace with a striking generational divide. A YouGov survey found that 18 to 29-year-olds watch TV in their native language with subtitles 63% of the time. 30 to 44-year-olds, it's far less, 37% of the time. Ages 45 to 64, just 29%. Numbers reflected in the Ship household. Who in the family likes watching with subtitles? Just one. 25-year-old Olivia Ship lives with her parents, Debbie and Lloyd, in California. Olivia, why do you like watching with subtitles?
The audio for what the actors have is so low, it's hard to hear what they're saying and almost sounds like they're mumbling.
She also took her frustrations to TikTok.
They don't put on subtitles. And then they get mad when you don't want to watch TV with them.
And we're like, really, honey? I didn't realize that was such a problem.
So now we have subtitles on all the time.
Even though her parents also find subtitles distracting.
I've tried to turn them off and I end up changing the color or, something goes really wrong.
Subtitles date back to the early 1900s when they were called inner titles, those title cards you saw between scenes in silent movies. After the transition to talkies, subtitles were born, growing more complex over the decades with the evolution of movies, then TV, then streaming. For those who are deaf and hard of hearing, there's also closed captioning, which in addition to dialogue, describes other sounds like music or sound effects. It's technology that's becoming much more common, and in some houses, much more polarizing. What's your advice to people who are having this struggle?
We don't really have an answer to that because we're still struggling with it ourselves.
You just want to let other couples out there know you're not alone.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone.
Definitely not.
Some theories on why younger generations like subtitles more. A lot of social media videos are subtitled always, so they're used to it. Also, a lot of people are actually watching stuff on their mobile devices. The quality often isn't as good. Sometimes they're even just watching things with the audio off frequently, so they get used to the subtitles. All right, coming up, it is the 49ers and the Chiefs now slated for a Super Bowl rematch, a rematch from a few years ago, set to go down in just a couple weeks. We're going to bring you all of this weekend's nail-biting highlights as we look ahead to February's matchup. That's next. Welcome back. Viewers of Sunday's Grammy Awards will see a certain musician performing there for the first time. So who is the rookie? Well, it's 80-year-old music icon Joni Mitchell making her debut performance at the ceremony despite winning 9 Grammys over the last half-century. Mitchell joins a lineup which includes Billie Eilish, Billy Joel, and Dua Lipa at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Mitchell only returned to performing recently after suffering a near-fatal brain aneurysm. She had to relearn how to play the guitar. Her 2023 album, Joni Mitchell at Newport, is up for Best Folk Album at the Grammys. That is going to be a cool moment. The matchup for Super Bowl 58 is officially set. After yesterday's thrilling doubleheader, the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers punched their tickets to Vegas to play for the Lombardi Trophy. NBC's Kaylee Hartung takes a look.
Playoff football hits different, don't you think, Joe? I'd say Championship Sunday proved that. The Lions' magical season has come to an end, and the likely NFL MVP won't be playing for a ring, but Super Bowl 58 is serving us up an elite rematch with star power on and off the field.
Are you ready for it? The Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl bound again.
You gotta fight for your right to play!
Superstar Taylor Swift in the middle of the celebration, embracing boyfriend Travis Kelce on the field, alongside his family. Their love story sending Swifties and Chiefs Kingdom into a frenzy.
I'm literally about to cry of pure happiness.
Travis's older brother Jason showing his support too. Through a 7-point win, Kelce's connection with quarterback Patrick Mahomes, unstoppable. The Chiefs shutting down the top-seeded Ravens in Baltimore. Olympian Michael Phelps joining the Ravens flock to root on the home team and Lamar Jackson, the favorite for league MVP, working his magic on the field. But the Ravens offense struggled to gain momentum, the Chiefs defense forcing them to make critical mistakes and capitalizing. Baltimore derailed as Kansas City wins the AFC title for the 4th time in 5 seasons.
When playoffs came around, I knew we were going to make it happen, and now we're in the Super Bowl, and the job's not done.
Now it's on to Las Vegas for the Chiefs.
The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl.
And the 49ers, who engineered one of the greatest comebacks in NFC Championship history. The Lions roaring to a hot start in San Francisco. Their fans even packing Ford Field in Detroit for a watch party. But the Niners wouldn't go down without a fight, bouncing back in the second half to erase a 17-point deficit and ending Detroit's dreams of its first Super Bowl trip.
Now, as eagle-eyed Swifties are well aware, Taylor Swift's international tour is picking back up. She's got a show in Tokyo the night before the Super Bowl, but we did the math. And thanks to the 17-hour time difference working in her favor, she'll be able to make it to Vegas in plenty of time. And for anyone in Chiefs Kingdom looking to book a flight from Kansas City to Vegas, well, American Airlines has some new flight options for you. How about Flight 1989? Yes, a nod to the Taylor Swift album that'll get you from KC to Vegas the day before the game. Joe?
All right, Kaylee, thank you. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.